time.
Doesn't seem like the strongest password. It's probably weak.
You are correct. How about that one?
That is a definite no-no in passwords. That's too easy.
Yeah, don't want to use your birthday. Don't want to use your anniversary. How about that one?
That one would probably be considered a stronger one because it doesn't just have lowercase or capital letters. It has special characters and numbers.
Yeah, so this one is definitely better. Not ideal though, because it is still using a dictionary word to make the password. But so this is going to call it weak, but it's better than, it's definitely a major improvement over the past two. It's also a bit longer than the past two as well. How about this one?
I'd say that's a medium strength password. Again, there's words in there, but it's multiple words and they're kind of mixed up with special characters, capitalization, underscore, numbers as well. And it's a longer password too.
What do you think, Anthony? It sounds like you're about to say something.
I would say medium to high strength, due to the fact that because it has a more string of characters than the previous few.
Yeah. So that one it actually thinks is strong, and the reason being, well, it's using words. These words have nothing to do with each other. So it's not just one word, it's actually multiple words. I mean, yeah, medium to high, that's a good description of it. How about that one?
That seems to be way too easy.
Yeah, that's like about as weak as you can get.
Obviously.
Now, how about that one?
I would say probably one of your strong ones, maybe.
That is a strong one.
But the only thing I would say with that there is somebody could easily get that corrected with a number of keystrokes. So that would be the thing that I would see downside.
Yeah, so how do you make a password like this? So this password is actually made out of a sentence. So they actually took a sentence. In this case, it was my son Aiden was 3 years old in December, and then took the first letter of each word and sprinkled in some capitalization and some symbols and some numbers. And voila, you've got a strong password. That actually isn't going to be terribly hard to remember if it was a phrase that you actually remembered. So the important things with passwords is to make them strong, but not only do you have to make them strong, you also have to keep them private. Passwords are not meant to be shared. And you can't, and I can't really say that enough, you know. I think some of us have gotten lax with, you know, the fact that, well, multiple people have to access the same thing, so we just give them all the same username and password, and that's not really the way you're supposed to do it.
Eric?
And you also need to keep them unique. So let's talk a little bit about what it takes to keep a password unique. Because, I mean, why you keep it unique? Because this is the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges in passwords is, you know, if every password has to be unique, how on earth are you going to remember all of them? So a lot of people just give up and use the same password everywhere, or make them stupid easy. So let's talk about why it's important to make it unique. And that's where we get to the whole thing of the dark web. I'm going to show you a brief video here. Okay. And let me make sure you can hear this as well.
Hackers target businesses and other organizations to try and steal information. Some of the stolen information is used for other criminal activities such as identity theft, online banking fraud, and social networking scams. Oftentimes, stolen information is sold on the dark web. This information is used by other criminals to gain access to accounts or to conduct illegal activities. We scan the dark web and see if accounts associated with your email domain have been compromised in a data breach. An external data breach is a breach that has happened outside your company or organization. Some notable breaches include the LinkedIn breach that compromised over 160 million accounts and the Dropbox breach that compromised close to 70 million accounts. While these data breaches were of no fault of your own or your employees, they could potentially have damaging consequences. Many times, hackers and cybercriminals will use the credentials of one breach, say, the LinkedIn breach, and try them on other websites. If your employees use the same email and password across multiple websites, they could be at risk of compromising their accounts, including their business accounts. If you discover that your email address has been associated with one or more external data breaches, you and your employees should take immediate action to minimize the risk of a breach. One of the most important steps you can take is to ensure that your employees are properly trained on cybersecurity. Training should include how to spot phishing and phone scams, the dangers of social media scams, how to create strong, unique passwords for each account, when to avoid using business email accounts for personal activities, how to protect portable devices such as smartphones, laptops, and USB drives. Your employees are the weakest security link. Over half of all data breaches are caused by human mistakes.
Okay. So that video should have explained to you how basically hackers will hack one company. And you've heard about these hacks in the news. The LinkedIn breach was a major one. It happened a few years ago. And I mean, they're constantly hacking new big companies. And if you have your if you're using the same password on all those different websites, they'll know your password because they hacked this one website, and they'll try it on all these other websites. And so that is why it's critical to make sure that you're not sharing passwords between websites, because each different website has its own potential vulnerabilities. So how do you do this and keep your passwords strong, keep them private, and keep them unique? Well, the answer is to use what's called a password manager. Password managers are software tools that help you remember your passwords. They are a secure place to store your passwords. They help you keep your passwords unique, and they can alert you to data breaches as well. So can anyone tell me what is not a secure place to store a password?
I would say maybe like Google.
Don't save it into Google, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't generally want to save your passwords into your web browser because that's one of the first places a virus will look on your computer to steal your password. And it's not the most protected. How about any other really bad ideas about places to store your passwords?
As a phone contact.
Yeah, as a phone contact. A lot of people I see do that. And yeah, that's not very secure. There's like zero security there. Phone contacts were not meant to be kept secure. I mean, they're reasonably private, but you know, they're not protected by any layers of security. And as a result, it can become very easy for someone else to see them. How about sticky notes? Is that a good place to store your password?
Not really, because if somebody can find you, if somebody is in your office and sees your sticky notes, they can copy and take pictures of passwords and stuff and breach that way.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the craziest thing is when someone puts a note on their laptop saying, this is the password to my laptop. So why on earth does your laptop have a password? That makes no sense at all. Yeah, occasionally I see that and I have to take that note away and then I have to make them change their password. So that's why we're looking for, well, you would need to store your passwords. That is critically important. You know, I do tech support for a lot of people. And if they don't know their passwords, how am I supposed to help them? You want to get into your email on this new computer, but if you don't know your email password, I can't get you into your email on this new computer, you know? And so people need to store their passwords. They just need to make sure they do it securely. And so that's where a password manager comes in, because a password manager will store your passwords in an encrypted format. Basically, they put it into a code, the kind of code that spies use, the scramble stuff, but it's all digital nowadays. And so when it's stored encrypted, that makes that password storage method on the computer a safe way to do it. You don't want to store your password on your computer in a plain text document, because if a virus gets on the computer and says, I want to find out where his passwords are, and does a quick text search of the computer for passwords, and it finds your password document with no password on it, you know, that's not going to do too good. So that's why you want to use a secure password manager. Now, what are some examples of secure password managers? I was going to try to make it into a slideshow for you, but unfortunately I ran out of time here. But the one I use is called LastPass. So let me show you this really quickly, what your password manager can do. I'll show you a quick look at mine. You won't be able to see any of my passwords, but you'll be able to see what a password manager can do. So this is my LastPass vault. So it allows me to store things like pins. So like the pin for my Verizon account, passwords for different websites, allows you to store your bank cards. So like that's something else similar to a password that people might want to save on their account, but save in their web browser, but just like your passwords, you don't want your credit card information to get stolen. You also have one nice thing about secure password managers is they have this thing called security dashboard. It can check your passwords to see if some of them are involved in a breach. So as you can see, it's scanning different emails just to see if anything's been involved in a data breach. It can also check your passwords to see if they've been reused between websites. So before I was using a password manager, I might have been using the same password in multiple websites. So now this tool is going to actually go through there and say, well, you've reused this password. You want to go change that password now. It also allows you to securely share your passwords. So if you want to share your Netflix password with someone, we have that way to do that. And if I need to share any passwords with any customers, there's a way to securely share that password, even though you generally don't want to share passwords. There are some passwords that need to be shared, and making and doing it securely is the most important thing if you're going to share it at all. And then another benefit of this is this password manager can be installed in every web browser I have. It can be installed on my phone, on every computer I have, so that I have access to my passwords everywhere. So with the password manager, you have one password. It's called your master password. And that one password is what gets you into your password. So you basically end up with only one password you have to remember. Well, actually, maybe more like two, because you actually have to remember your computer password too. But you only have like one or two passwords you have to remember. Robert, you have a question?
Actually, I have two questions about this. On some of the password managers, they can also come up with secured passwords when you create new accounts? And also, does this one work with applications on your phone too, other than
Yes.
just websites?
Yeah, so this one works with applications on my phone as well as websites. It's a new feature in the latest version of iOS that has been able to use third-party password managers. It's probably been around in Android a bit longer. But yeah, so if I want to log into the bank account on my bank account on my phone in the bank account app, it will actually pull up the password to my bank account inside that app, so that I don't have to do that. And regarding password generation, yes, that is another great benefit of password managers, is they can make passwords for you. And you only ever want to use password generation if it's you'd only ever want to use password generation if it were actually doing it, if you were actually using a website. So I can go here, I can click on generate secure password, and it's going to generate a password. I can tell it how complex I want it to be, how many characters I want it to be. That's off the scale. That's a secure password. You would never want to type that password in, but when you're using a password manager that will autofill your password, you don't even have to know your password. So I don't know a lot of my passwords. They're all in the password manager, and they're unique, random stuff. So I don't need to, but because the password manager remembers it, I don't care how complex or random the password is. All I know is it's a good, secure password, and that the password manager will remember the password for me. Any other questions or comments? Well, that was my presentation, so.
Awesome. Are there any other password managers that you'd recommend outside of LastPass?
Yeah, so I came up with I found a list here that has a list of all the different password managers here. And they all have the different strengths and weaknesses, and they all, there are free versions of these and there are not free versions of them. So like you've got LastPass. In order to get the most out of it, you have to pay for it. So that's like $3 a month for a personal account, $4 a month if it's a family account. Family account basically gets you, so I use LastPass for family. So basically, I'm able to pay for LastPass for my entire family. And instead of paying $3, it's just $4 a month. Here's another one called Keeper. Bitwarden is another one. This is probably, if you're looking for something that is just free, this is the best among this has the most available for free. A lot of these have free versions, but the paid version gets you more. This one has the most available for free. That's called Bitwarden. Dashlane is another popular one. 1Password is also a good one. RoboForm, I have a customer who uses RoboForm. There's Blur, KeePass, and a few others. But those are the main ones that you're gonna want to look at using. And one thing you're going to want to look into, we didn't cover this in our presentation today because it goes a bit beyond passwords and I didn't want to do too much, but there's something called two-factor authentication that once you log in, it like sends you a text message to give you a PIN or one-time password. There's an app that's on your phone that gives you a one-time password to log in. So that's called two-factor authentication. It is highly encouraged to use that when you're using a password manager. And so, because that will make it significantly more difficult for someone to hack your account. Robert, you have another question?
Two things. One, I've been reading in some of the tech stuff that I get, that there's mixed reviews on the because a lot of companies are going to this, the single sign-on, that if there's a hack, that it could be a problem with it having multiple websites. What have you heard on that?
Single sign-on is a little different than password managers, but it is basically a way, it's used a lot in the Red Cross. Basically with single sign-on, your volunteer connection password is also the password that gets you into RC Care, RC Respond, RC View, into Edge, even into the Exchange if you're don't have a separate username, if you don't have a redcross.org email address. So that is a potential security vulnerability. So if they were able to steer your password to that one application that uses that your single sign-on application, so if they stole your volunteer connection username and password, they'd be able to get into all of your redcross.org, into all of your Red Cross accounts. I mean, yeah, that's not it isn't necessarily ideal, but also it's also trying to keep things easy and simple for people. And so single sign-on, well, it isn't, the epitome of security, it's also isn't the least secure thing either. But yes, hackers will hack whatever they try, and that's why you want to use two-factor authentication with like your password manager, so they don't steal your password manager password and then get all your passwords. Any other? You had another question, Robert?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for leading this presentation. We appreciate it. I know it's kind of last minute for you, but we really appreciate this